What's going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today we're going to talk to you about Polestar. I want to go over some of the current data points, what shorts have been doing, and just generally speaking, I've been receiving quite a few comments on this. Why has Polestar's price stabilized now? So I'm going to go over all the things that you need to know, but first make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. Starting off, Polestar is down 4.91%, 1.5 million shares being traded, 8.1 is the average. So you still are seeing institutions overlooking Polestar, so still unfortunate. Last transaction on the secondary market was on May the 31st. That was for 109,000. It was a buy, so that's kind of a positive thing, but beside the point, like largely institutions are overlooking Polestar. And for those of you that have been paying attention to Polestar for like a year, 2 years, you already do know that Wall Street hates Polestar for whatever reason, clearly linkages to 𝗖𝗢𝗧𝗛, so it's just a very unfortunate circumstance. But like I said, I've been receiving some DMs or I guess on Twitter or X, whatever the hell you call it, about the price point, because you do see it has somewhat stabilized, and that could be for several reasons that I'm going to talk on. One of which is just risk versus reward. As I brought up, and I typically do bring up, the PS ratio right now on Polestar is 0.6. Even the future is 0.5. So the future is so discounted. It's like there's basically bankruptcy is somewhat being priced in. It's not to that extent, but you guys get what I'm saying. It's just there's absolutely no optimism for Polestar. In my opinion, is that justified? I'd say no, especially considering, like, yeah, they didn't really submit their earnings and still is going to be sometime in June. But what's the worst case scenario? Obviously, Thomas did that video and he did say that there's going to be some negatives years that is going to be affected and some positives. So in reality, what on earth could it be? And when it comes down to any companies unveiling the earnings, some big driving factors that causes sell-offs is excessive dilution, as well as when it comes to just not really good future guidance, both of which probably aren't going to be affected. The only true thing that most likely will have gone changed probably is warrants, because Polestar previously did have a lot of warrants, probably the conversion rate, and so I think that is one thing that's really affecting Polestar. So again, that probably might be it, but that's just my own estimate. Of course, that's you guys do your own due diligence. So in reality, the reason why it has somewhat stabilized around here is just because of risk versus reward. And second point is shorts. So in case you guys don't know, shorts, the max that shorts can actually make is 100%. And that's if the company goes belly up. So this is why you do see shorts kind of closing out their position earlier rather than later, and usually probably around the 80 to 90% range. But if you think about it, right here, you do see it hovering around the $1.32 range. If you think about it, if they started to short excessively at this stage and plus down here, this would be a realistic time for them to close out their positions. And in case you guys don't know, shorts closing out their positions adds buying pressure. So even though shorts today are increasing, overall over this last little bit, they've been somewhat stabilizing, if not returning some shares. So that could have given it the nice support, if that makes sense, because normally you get support from institutions buying, but Polestar hasn't really had any of that. So it's kind of a weird circumstance to say that shorts might be helping the stock temporarily, but once the earnings do come out, that's where things could dramatically change. So that's kind of my estimate on why it has somewhat stabilized, but still, like I said, even if you zoom out over this last 1 year, Wall Street hates Polestar, and this is actually just the 1 year. If we zoom out further, like the 5 years, I've been covering Polestar for a very, very long time, and it has been a gong show, absolute gong show, because Polestar, yeah, they're very, very smart people, all engineers, but they're not business savvy. And just even beside the point, like the market does not like Polestar. So it's kind of a very unfortunate circumstance. Since my last video, I think it came out last Friday, there's been no news, no SEC filings, nothing like that. So it has just been piggybacking off of the broader market. And right now the market isn't all that great, so a lot of banks are potentially getting insolvent or kind of stuck in limbo for that. At the same time, you do have this that just came out. This can't be confirmed as of yet, but I think a lot of people generally knew that if Trump was going to be in power, he wasn't going to really focus on EVs. So it does say Donald Trump has said that he'll stop electric car sales. I don't think he can actually stop them. He could probably put tariffs and really de-incentivize people to go to EVs, similar to, I live in Canada, just so you guys are aware, and in Alberta, they actually did the very similar kind of scenario. Alberta is a big province for oil, so they really added, I think it was extra tariffs or fees or whatever on EV sales. So why would anyone buy that, right? They'd just go to a typical gas vehicle. So maybe that's what Trump might do, but still, nonetheless, not a very good circumstance for Polestar or any EV that's going to be dealing in the States. And even beside the point, I know Polestar did really say that they're going to be opening up, I think it was a summer, about their Carolina facility. Like, yeah, that's going to be good, but it might be just very, very poor timing overall. So I think just Polestar's just stuck between a rock and a hard place, and it just doesn't matter about the discounted price. People just do not want anything to do with Polestar. So like I said, shorts are increasing a small amount today. So 669,000 shares are being increased. Utilization 77.82, and that works out to be a grand total of 28.92 million shares overall are being shorted. Looking at options, very little for that. So people just, again, aren't really even looking at Polestar for options. So 34,000 in calls, 375 in puts. Sentiment wise, 78% of all the options being done are bearish, which again, that's been more of the common occurrence over this last little bit. So still no optimism for Polestar. Looking at the call options that are being purchased, you do see a consensus for it to be around the $1 range by January 16th, 2026. So horrific for that. And then looking at puts, you do see more of a consensus for it to be sub $1 for this upcoming strike price of June the 21st. So dollar value wise, just nobody again is really paying attention to it. These are some of the transactions occurring on the dark pool. Dark pool is often enough linked to shorting. So there was one big transaction done yesterday for 2.94 million. But still nothing today, as you can kind of see. With it right now at 76 and change, it is trading between this S1 and the pivot. So next strong support is going to be that 70 cents, and then vice versa will be that $1 mark for the resistance / target. So the technicals are looking bad. Anticipate probably this S1 to be touched probably later this week. There's a lot of consumer data coming out as well that's really going to affect Polestar as well as the broader market if it is negative. But even if the data is positive, I don't think people will really care, and Polestar might just continue to sell off. So we'll just have to wait and see what does happen ultimately, but just watch for that 70-cent mark to really hold, and that would obviously be a new 52-week and all-time low for Polestar. On the actual chart itself, you do see stochastic at roughly about 10, so that is very oversold. So let's say Polestar does come out with their earnings and it's not as bad as what the market is anticipating. This is where you could see a very nice rush of value investors, probably for the first time ever in Polestar's life. You will see a very nice spike up and kind of readjustment. But beside the point, that might be short-lived because I think a lot of the support levels have been completely decimated during this time period. So it's kind of, it's a very bad scenario. But nonetheless, again, it will depend on what is being said in their earnings and what was the true cause for it to be delayed as much as it is or has been. Number of retail investors are getting out today and have been getting out continuously since it looks like the 15th. So lucky individuals somehow maybe sensed it. I don't know. So if you have been selling, give yourself a shout out in the comments below, or vice versa. If you have been buying, averaging down, give yourself a shout out in the comments below. I really do like Polestar. This is why I still do cover it. A lot of EVs are struggling, Polestar at least is able to really get a ton of vehicles out, and plus they've been actually investing quite a lot in their actual technology. So I really do like that. And even if you kind of think about it under the umbrella of the PIF, I do frequently cover Lucid. There could be some partnership coming between that, because Polestar is connected to the PIF through 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗘𝗖𝗧, and so technically if there's going to be maybe a partnership or something like that, it could be announced sooner rather than later. And normally whenever a company is very, very discounted, this is where you do get typically attention from other entities. So there might be a takeover coming in Polestar's future. We'll just have to wait and see. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. One final thing, take advantage of this promo. Simply sign up for a new account, throw $100 at it, and they give you 5 free stocks. Each stock is valued up to $2,000. Kick-ass deal. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.